Hi guys, welcome back to the shop. Hey, today we're working on the YL2C Trailmaster 100 again. This time we're building a cable. We got to make a cable that goes from the enriching device on the carburetor up to the lever on the handlebars. So let me get you overhead and we'll kind of go over what we've got to do, and then we'll go do it. Okay guys, here's what we need. We're using 1.5 millimeter cable. So we need the outer cable and we need the inner cable. And then we're going to need some ends. We're going to need 2 caps, one on each end. And then you're going to need 2 cable ends. We're going to need this little short one. This is going to go right in here. And this one here is actually wider than I need. I'm just going to go ahead and solder it on and then take and grind the sides down, both sides down a little bit. It's just a narrower one. You know, we'll be able to get it out of there. I just don't have any like that. So that's what we've got to do. And here's the piece that goes on the carburetor. And one thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you relax your adjustment as far down as it can go before you do any of this. And then you've kind of got to measure what are you doing? What are you doing? You're going to raise this up, and the amount of travel is about 0.610. I'm talking thousandths here. Now we need to get this measurement right here, and it's going to go from right here at the bottom of the nut to where the cable stops in the ferrule here, and it's just about right. So we're at 0.633. The first thing I want to do is get all the components and then go over and do the measurements. The next thing in the scheme of things here is how thick this is, because that's got to go on the cable. That's part of your equation. So you need 0.231 for that piece, and then 0.135 for that piece. All that's taking up real estate on your cable. Okay, now there's one other thing that we need to look at for our cable, for building the cable, as far as the space in it that we need. Let me take you over to the bike and I'll show you. Okay, the next part of the equation is where it goes in here. This is where your cable end's going to go. And there's a little bit of real estate between here and where the cable comes in. I've got a little short piece of cable here. This goes into right there. So the difference between where the end of that outer cable is to where the center of this cable end goes, we've got to have that in there too. I call that a bridge. Okay, so that's just kind of dead cable that's got to be there in order to make up that space. So I'm getting about 678 there. Okay, the first thing you want to do is check your routing. I've got the throttle cable and the clutch cable are going right here by the headlight, between the headlight and the handlebar clamp. So that's where we'll put this one, if I can get it to go through there. And I'm just going to take and stick it in the holder over there and try to give me enough slack there. And then we're going to come on down, and I'm just going to kind of follow suit with the other throttle, or with the throttle cable there, because I'll just clamp that on with it. And just double check, make sure we've got some I'm going to call right there good. So we'll just cut that one right there. All right. So back up to the bench. Just take and clean up the ends here on the grinder. Make them flat. So we just go ahead and add up all those. We've got the small end, the large end, the amount of movement, the carb fitting here, and the lever that we measured, and we come up with 2.288. Okay, so now we need to add that 2.288 or thereabouts. So right there is how much we need sticking out of this. So the next thing there is what we've got to do is just cut it off. Okay, my next thing I've got to do is, this is a tool that I made out of 2 pieces of angle iron, and this fits all the different cables sizes. And it's actually, they call it a bird caging tool. You can buy one, but they're real easy to make. Just get 2 pieces of angle iron, put them together, and then drill your holes for your different size cables. And what we're going to do, this is the 1.5 millimeter, so we're going to go in this hole right here. And I've got it in my vise. Try to get everything centered here. And I want to pull that cable down to where it's about right there, I think. About halfway down the big hole. And then we tighten it up, and that'll keep the cable from slipping out of there. And I've got a little punch that I made here out of a piece of 1/4 inch coal roll with just a little dimple here on the end. So we've got a any type dimple from the drill bit in the bottom of the hole here, and we've got the same thing here. So we just set this in on top of that wire, give it a tap, and pull it apart, and there's our, this keeps it from slipping off, and they call that a bird cage. Okay, now let me show you how that works with the end here. Okay, I can go ahead and put my, let's see, it's got to be, yeah, that's the way. So you've got a big hole on one side and a little hole on the other side. So this needs, the big hole needs to go towards it. And it goes right there. Now you pull that, and the bird cage actually pulls into the hole. And once the solder is flowed around that, there's no way that's going to be able to come out. No way. So the next thing we need to do, I'm trying to get my solder warmed up here. But the first thing I'm going to do is clean that with some acetone. We're just going to clean the the cable and the cable in. That's something you really got to get all that oil off of it. Okay, next thing you want to do is you want to get a little flux. And you don't want to go too high. You just want to get a little bit around the bottom, the cable right here. Try not to get it up here too high, and you don't want to dip it in the solder way up there either. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to dip it in the solder, and we're going to leave it for about 10 seconds. And we're not going to go very high. And then we're going to dip it in water, cool it off. So you don't want it to come up here because it makes the cable stiff up here. So I've got a little bit more there than I want, but it should be okay. So there's your cable in for that end. Now we've got to put the cable together before we put the other end on. Okay, the next thing I do, since I don't have a crimper to crimp these cable caps on, I just mix up a little bit of epoxy and just place it on the cable there and then press it on. Give it a little twist. This is some JB Weld 5-minute epoxy. Oops. Keep pushing it on the other end there. All right. And the same thing here. There you go. Okay, the next thing you got to do is get your small end on, because you've got to flare this end to this one now. And I need a pretty small bird cage on this one. So if I don't get enough with this one, I'll come back and do it again. I think that's good. Probably a little more than I needed. But you can always grind it off. Okay, so there's our bird cage, and that's where we're going to solder it. So back over here, get it all the way down. And we're going to clean off the cable and the cable in. And we'll let that dry a little bit. Okay, again, a little flux. And about 10 seconds. So there's our other end. Just a little filing and grinding and it'll be ready to go. And like I say, on this big end, I had to grind off a little bit of that. Got to make it narrower. Ooh, it's hot. Okay. Yeah, I just had to make this a little narrower. I just don't have any of the narrow ones. This is what it started out with. And I just grind both sides off a little bit. And that's so that it fits in here. See, it takes the narrower one. I just don't have any of those. So that's where it goes for that. And on the other end, this piece is, it's going to go in here. And then we've got our spring. And then we've got this that goes in there. So that's what we've got. So this should work. So let's get over there on the bike and see if we can get it installed. Okay, don't know whether I'm going to be able to put this together with the carb in there or not, but we're going to try it. I'll probably get it together. Whether I can get it tightened is another thing. Okay. Oops. You know what I forgot to do? I don't know whether I can do it or not. I got to get it. I got to get it through the cap. I'm going to see if I can get the other end to go through. Okay, no luck on that. I just went ahead and pulled this out again, run it through like I should have. It took another minute, and I was able to get in here, and I believe I'm good enough on our for that being tight. I think it's okay. So I've got this kind of run up. I'll probably do a zip tie right about here where I tied the other one on. We'll see what it looks like on up. I've got it shoved up through behind the speedometer and between the speedometer and the handlebar bolt down. Okay, so we get this end here, get our little lever, the cable in the lever, put it on there, pull this back, get it in there. Nice. Let me get that bolted down. All right, we're cooking with gas. All right, guys, I think we're just about there. That piece in there. And that one. Yeah, so everything's hooked up there. We've just got this little gizmo here. Let me double check my carb mount. Okay. All right, so we're getting close. Okay, one step closer. So we've got, let's see, we've got to get our exhaust pipe on and tighten up a few things as far as the brake go here, the spring and the switch, and get the brake up, get it hooked up here, and probably get the tank on and get it. I think it's good to go, so I've got to work on the petcock yet. But man, we're getting close on this thing. So there's our, I don't know whether that's supposed to stay over or what. If it is, I'll have to put another, like a spring washer underneath it probably. I can't remember whether it's supposed to stay over and you push it back or what. Anybody knows, let me know, please. One person was asking me about the hose again and said that all the colored hose he uses gets soft and falls apart. I like a translucent hose where I can see what's going on inside, and this is all Tygon. It's the same stuff they use in chainsaws, so it has fuel on the inside of it and on the outside because it goes in the tank and holds the little rock on, the little rock filter. So it's constantly got fuel around the outside and the inside. I've never had any trouble with Tygon hose. It'll last forever. And it stays flexible the whole time. Never gets hard. Yeah, I just wanted to show you, if you've been watching my videos for a while, you probably saw me make a cable before. And this is what I have used for my solder pot for a long time. I just have a wire I stick in the vise with an acorn nut and heat that up with a propane torch. But a few months ago, I happened to see one of those solder pots and thought I'd try it. And so far I like it. And they're really not that expensive, 20 some bucks, I think. Okay guys, there you have it. Kind of a short video on making a cable. I've had some people ask, and you know, I want to thank Matt again for these Felco, I believe that's what they are, yeah, Felco cutters. They cut complete and without disturbing any of the strands. You don't have any problems with it wanting to unravel or anything. So if anybody's looking for a good tool, man, this Felco is a go-getter. I never have any trouble with those strands trying to come apart or anything. I used to. Every time I did it, I'd cut it off with a cut-off tool, you know, with the whiz wheel, and tape it up and all that stuff. You don't have to do any of that stuff with this. Works perfect. Thanks again, Matt. And I want to thank you guys for going along on the ride. And we'll see you next video.